Good evening and welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Tonight we're going to do a little good old fashioned Ruby testing and OOP. Um, Sometimes I like to do coding just in Ruby, not Rails, because when you're doing Rails, it's kind of like what's Ruby, what's Rails, where does the Ruby stop, where does the Rails begin? And there's just so much stuff. There's all the HTTP requests, HTML, JavaScript, all that stuff. And when you do just Ruby, it's not as easy to get confused about what's what. It really strips the principles down to their essentials and makes it really clear. So I'm going to do a little of that today. I'll share my screen and then describe what we're going to build. Okay. So what we're going to build is something called a word stemmer. And this comes from artificial intelligence, natural language processing. So the idea is that if you have a word like jumping, the stemmer will reduce it to something like jump. Or if you have jumper, it reduces that to jump. And basically any variation or conjugation or whatever, it'll just get reduced down to the stem of that word. That's the idea. We're going to start from totally nothing and see how far we can get in about an hour. Okay, so starting point is good old ChatGPT. I'm going to say, I want to build a word stemmer in Ruby. Help me come up with a few test cases to start with. We'll use RSpec. Okay, and as part of my ChatGPT custom instructions, I told it that it should ask me questions whenever I ask it questions. That's why it's asking me these questions. What types of words? I'm going to just say English. Are you looking to handle all parts of speech? Nouns, verbs, blah, blah, blah. Why not? We'll say yes. Hey, Carl.
Hey.
We're building a word stemmer. We're about 5 seconds in.
Nice. Okay.
What level of complexity are you aiming for? Okay, eventually I want something very sophisticated, but let's start simple and build up. Any specific requirements or constraints such as performance? I'll say no. Okay, now let's see what it does. And I love this tactic of asking ChatGPT to ask me questions because otherwise it'll make assumptions. And I find that it's better when it doesn't make assumptions, but rather asks for clarification. Okay, so this is like way too many test cases. So we'll just use maybe the first one. Okay, and I am a double quotes kind of guy, so I'm going to fix that. Whoops, that didn't fix that. Okay. Okay. Then we'll run this file. That failed because I have no file called your stemmer file. I'm going to call it Word. Whoops. And I'm going to write just enough code to make the failure message go away. Okay, now it says uninitialized constant word stemmer. Not too surprising because such a thing does not exist. So, okay, undefined method stem for word. And just for common sense's sake, we'll say let word equals word.new. I'm going to reword this slightly. It returns the stem of a regular noun. Okay. And instead of stem, I'm going to call this stemmed. That changes it from an imperative to a declarative style. Okay, and I'm actually going to do something even different. Word.new dogs dot stemmed. We'll do it like that. To me, okay, so let me mention this. ChatGPT wanted me to create something called word stemmer. To me, that's not very meaningful. Like word stemmer is a pretty weak abstraction. I prefer to have an abstraction called word because that's a real thing that already has a meaning. Okay, describe stemmed. Okay, now it's saying wrong number of arguments, which makes sense because my initializer doesn't take an argument. So I'm going to do initialize value. And I'm just going to do that much, and that's all. Okay, undefined method stemmed. Okay, so I'm just going to do that much. Can I do this? There we go. Okay, expected dog got nil. All right, now we're getting somewhere. So I'm going to do this. Value equals value. And for stemmed, we'll return value. That at least gets us slightly closer. Expected dog got dogs. So here's where I'm going to have ChatGPT help. I'm not even going to say anything to ChatGPT. I'm going to see if it can figure out what I want. Make it pass. Wonderful. That's exactly the kind of thing I was going for. I want just enough code to make the test pass. Okay. All right, and that does in fact pass. So at this point, I'm going to commit what I have. Okay, I probably really should have called that word spec, but maybe I'll fix that in a minute. Okay, so now we can have a new test case. And if anybody wants me to slow down, let me know. Or if you have a question or comment, just feel free to interrupt as I'm talking. I'm going to say, give me another test case. Interesting that it had the return in there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's weird. Did I? Oh, wow. Look at me. All right. Yeah, I don't need to do that. Okay. Wonderful. Uh-huh. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. And I love this because I can just turn my brain right off and make ChatGPT do all the work. Obviously, there's still skill involved. Um, you have to know what you want. Okay. I see what's going on here. Okay. We'll do this for starters, but I'm not going to be happy with this long term. And I'll explain why momentarily. Okay. And it still hasn't figured out that I want double quotes, I guess. That's okay. It wasn't smart enough to take off the N. So I'm going to tell it so. And all this copy paste business is why I've been working on that plugin to interface with ChatGPT that some of you guys know about. Removes the last three characters. No, it won't. Ha. I like how it resorted to just hard coding it. All right, fair enough, I suppose. I don't like these. I told it to never ever put comments, but it still does. Okay. Wow. And now it doesn't handle. I think I made the mistake, though. It was my fault, not its fault. There we go. Okay. Well, this is obviously not going to fly long term, but let's give it another. Let's force it via more test cases. Next test case.
Are you familiar with the movie Cool Runnings?
Ha. I saw it when it came out.
Because with these rules, runnings isn't going to go down to run either.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's funny because it's the word that you're using is actually going to be another problem.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to feed this in. Is it just going to hard code this one also? What? That's a funny way of doing it. All right, let's see what that gets us. That actually works. Okay. Well, this code isn't looking terrible so far. What was the word that you said, Jonathan?
Runnings.
Yeah, okay.
It's barreling early with those returns, so it's not going to be able to hit multiple rules. Actually, I don't even know if run would be the. Yeah.
Fun fact, I read that the word run has the most meanings out of any English word. has like over 100 different meanings. It's still hard coding it. I'm going to say don't hard code anything to do with the word run. Okay, things are starting to get interesting. Yep, that didn't work. Looks like it kind of got stuck. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that passes. This code seems pretty hard to understand. I'm not happy with it. Let's clean it up in a second. But first, let's commit this since everything's passing. And I am going to rename stemmer spec to word spec just because that's doesn't seem right. And before we move on, I don't like that I have two tests labeled the same thing. And you know, I don't think I even really need these descriptions. I don't feel like they bring much to the table. It stems words. That is plenty good enough for me, I think. Okay. Clarify test. Okay. Okay. Now, let's get rid of these comments because I don't like comments. Okay. Now, how can we make this code nicer? And I apologize, but I'm actually going to commit what I just did in the spirit of atomic commits. Remove comments. Okay, now how can we make this nicer? So I don't understand the reasoning for this previous stem thing. Why is that necessary? Anybody have any idea why it's doing that?
I think it's getting the original and then it's applying all the changes and then making sure, seeing if any of those changes did anything.
Is it?
Isn't it trying to reduce it to zero?
It's-
I mean,
It's like being recursive. So for runnings ends with S, so it applies the S rule, and then it runs it back through, and it ends with ing. It applies the ing rule, and then it's done, I guess.
Okay, I'm confused though. Until previous stem equals stem. Oh, I see. It's repeating this until the chain. It's repeating this until going through this results in no
Doesn't-
change.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Instead of looping through, can we just do it recursively instead? Because I feel like that would be easier to understand. I could certainly figure this out, but it's easier to just let ChatGPT try to figure it out. Okay. Let's see if that actually works properly. It does. Okay. I still don't think I like this. But we're getting closer. Okay. Why can't it just initialize a new word? Why can't we just initialize a new word object? I think that would be even easier to understand. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it that way. Make sure this behaves as expected. Looks like it does.
How about a verb that ends with S?
Verb that ends with S.
Like pass.
Wait, sorry. What do you mean?
This will, maybe we're not there yet, but this will break on, if you put it like passing, for example, it'll recursively go all the way down to PA instead of pass.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll break on all kinds of stuff. Yeah, first I want to get it in a little better shape and then add more cases.
Yeah.
Okay. So return value unless rule applies. What does rule applies do? Okay, so we're seeing that seems like a weird way to do it. Can't we just check what it returns and see if there's any difference? Because this seems duplicative. Like we have the ing thing here and we have this ing thing here. I'm going to say that rule applies. And like in hindsight now, it probably would have been just faster for me to do this myself rather than doing this through ChatGPT. But I'm still kind of experimenting and seeing what ChatGPT is capable of and what it's not. Um, see what it thinks of that. Okay. Let's give this a whirl. Okay, that passes. And this looks a little simpler too. Okay. Apply rules. Return value if new value equals value. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to express this slightly differently. If new value equals value, return, wait, what was it? Yeah, return value. Oh, we don't even need return value, else word.new stem. Okay, so if the values are equal, then we've done all we can do and we just return it. If not, there's still more work to be done, so we stem it some more. Okay. Oh, let me run the tests. I don't think it did. Okay, yeah. Okay. New value equals, There's something I find confusing about this. Stemmed. Because like apply rules is just doing the stemming. Like it seems like apply rules really ought to be called stemmed. But then what does stemmed do? Apply rules. Oh, I think I know what I don't like about this. Okay. Let's do something real quick. I'm going to go like this. Value equals value dot dupe. I'm going to see if this still does the same thing. Okay, that still passes. This, even though it's bigger and harder to understand, this seems more logical to me. The apply rules thing felt weird. It didn't feel like that had much meaning. Like, it didn't feel very distinguished from stemmed. Like, it's the definition of stemming is applying the stemming rules. So like, why do we have one method called stemmed and another one called apply rules? Like stemming means apply the rules. So it seems illogical to have a separate method called apply rules. What I do think would make sense is to have a number of separate methods for the individual rules. Okay. Oh, and line 17 is, that doesn't make any sense to have that there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to commit this. Oh, and I have a ChatGPT sometimes does that. It gives you empty lines. Whoops. Line 16. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Refactoring. Okay, now we can add some meaning to these things because we have these numbers everywhere, but it's like, what do these numbers mean? What's this Y all about? What's IER? These things aren't super abundantly clear. So let's see. If the value ends in IER, then we do what? Okay, so what is an IER word? Oh, happier changes to happy. Okay. How do we put a label on that? Well, first of all, I'm going to restructure this slightly. Oops. Okay. IER. You know what would be neat is if we could say something like this. if it's like IER becomes Y, and it's like a DSL kind of thing. But how do we implement that? Here's one way. Here's one way to get started, at least. Becomes IER Y. And then we can have a method called becomes. Oh, def becomes from and to. Oh, and I guess we gotta have the value. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm thinking. Let me come back to this momentarily. This value business, this value.dupe stuff feels kind of funny. Seems like we should do it like this. Original value equals value. Value equals value.dupe. Because it seems weird that we should have to like pass value around. Value should just be it should just be an instance value. Okay. Why didn't that work? Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I'm just going to type it. Original value. Original value. Okay. And then value becomes value. Okay, let's see if I did that without making any mistakes. Unsurprisingly, I did not. Oh, it's, yeah. There we go. Okay. So now when we have our instance methods, we won't have to pass value. We can just use the instance variable called value, which I think will be easier to understand. Okay, refactoring. Okay, now we can do becomes ing e def becomes from to let's give that a try. Didn't work. Run turns to runny. Interesting. Okay. And why does run become runny? Running. Yeah, running turns to runny. Oh, it's because I made a mistake. It's not ing, it's ear. There we go. Wonderful.
You probably want to change that hard-coded for to be dependent on the length of from.
Good point. I will achieve that by adding another test case that fails when it's hard-coded to for. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's do that next. Oddly enough, that's the first word that came to my mind. I do not know why. That works. Oh, I guess it's because it's going from the end.
Yeah, you're gonna hit a shoe when you. So when you do next, your next becomes. So if you did something like becomes, to chop off the S or something like that.
Oh, I see what you mean. I get it. Okay. Yeah, like I don't know. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So I want to chop off the 2. Let's see if ChatGPT is smart enough to fix this. Wow, I had a lot of trouble with that. Okay. Hmm. Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. Slice length is from dot length. I don't feel like having that temp var adds anything. Okay. Okay. I'm going to commit that. Now, ing is not quite as simple, but maybe it kind of is. Let's just try this and see what happens. Conceptually, we just want to change ing to nothing. Whoops. So let's see what happens. And let's see how ChatGPT proposes that we handle this. Check if the last character is duplicated. Okay, I guess. Oh, but I don't want to put that there.
I'm peeking at 3 or 4 other stemming algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
They're all gross and ugly, just to give you a heads up.
My surprise meter stays at 0.
And I am seeing a thing for double consonants. So ChatGPT is not insane.
Oh, well, that's comforting to know. Seems like it got stuck. Oh, there we go. Every time I say that, it gets unstuck. I just need to say that every time it gets stuck. Okay. Becomes. Oh, what's this? Remove preceding duplicated. No, we're not going to start doing this business. I really don't like having flags in methods that alter the method's behavior. I think that makes it harder to understand than it should be. Okay, let's see what this does. Okay, that passes. Okay, so I'm going to commit this and then we'll do some reflection. Okay. So I hope you guys agree with me that this seems a little easier to understand than what we originally had. What we have now is some abstraction. This code is still a little bit hard to understand, but you can look at this and you say, okay, here's this class. We have something called a word. I know what a word is. And the stemmed word, IER becomes Y, ing becomes nothing, S becomes nothing. And then this could be improved actually. I'm open to suggestions here, but result different from original. Oh no, this is okay. Yeah. Okay, so if result different from original, I don't know if I really am happy with that wording. Well, maybe better than what was before. Is that better than before? Having this method called result different from original? Does that help? Any opinion from anyone?
Yeah, I think so. It clarifies purpose.
Okay. Okay, I'll commit that. Okay. Yeah, so like I was saying, we have some abstraction. These become these. If the result is different from the original, then we wait. The result's different from the original. Oh yeah. Okay. The result was different from the original. We stem again. And otherwise we return the original value. Okay. And if we want to know how that stuff works, we can come down to here. If the value ends with from, we can change this to a guard clause. Whoops. Okay, great. Okay. So if the value we're dealing with doesn't end with this from value, then we don't even need to worry about it. But if it does end with the from value, then what do we do here? We chop off the end and we put on whatever it gets changed to. And here we deal with any consecutive letters. This could maybe benefit from some abstraction. Okay, here we go.
For that array that you're chopping off the end,
Uh-huh.
actually, I'm just checking to see if this is active support or if it's just plain Ruby. But there's also, I think, a delete suffix, which might just read better. So you could do @value.delete suffix.
What, like this?
So we delete suffix ing or whatever.
Oh,
So this would be replacing line 28.
oh, but look. Delete suffix has the same problem.
So this is just deleting the suffix instead of the 0 ... dash from length -1.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. All right, so line 28 is what you're talking about?
Yeah, instead of having that array
Ah,
part.
okay. Okay.
So you could do value.delete suffix +2.
Whoops.
Delete suffix from, and then the +2 onto the end of it.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Whoops. Wow, okay. I like that. Thanks for that tip. Okay, and what we achieved there, of course, was that we added some abstraction. Instead of just some numbers, we added some meaning there. And now let's add some abstraction to this. We can say remove trailing, remove consecutive trailing letters. I'm going to call it without consecutive trailing letters. Okay. Oh, hang on a second. No. Totally. I'm going to do something completely different. Has consecutive trailing letters. And really, to be precise, I should say characters. They don't have to be letters. Hmm. Now that feels weird to do that. I'm going to do that. Okay, let's see if I did that right. Okay. So yeah, we delete the suffix. And if it has consecutive trailing characters, we chop off a character. I feel pretty good about that. Okay, refactoring. And I'm going to add like one more word or maybe a couple more words, then we'll call it a day. Somebody give me a word. What's that, Jonathan?
Somethingable,
Somethingable.
manageable, or
Oh, okay. I thought you meant literally somethingable, and I'm like, that's not a word.
we're
The first word
programmers, so we
that
can make up any words we want.
that's true. huggable. What does that become? Does it become hug?
I think so.
Expected hug and got huggable. All right, let's see what ChatGPT thinks we should do with this. Whoops. Okay. I meant to type in the other stuff, but I didn't. Okay.
Someone should make a tool that solves that problem.
Right. Oh, yeah, it seems kind of obvious now that it says it. I should just add becomes a bowl. And that becomes nothing. Yeah. Well, that kind of felt too easy.
How about like beautiful?
Okay. Beauty, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like if full becomes E. Okay. I'm starting to feel like I can handle anything you guys can throw at me.
Okay, I want you to turn stinging into sting.
Okay. Unless I'm crazy, that seems really easy.
Recursive
you're-
ing.
Yeah, your recursive ing is going to return st at this
Oh.
point.
Yeah.
It should be sting at the end, not ing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so let's see what ChatGPT can do with this one. I feel like it is totally wrong, right?
Its reason is wrong, but that method would, I think, work. But it gets that Boolean flag in there that you hate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like each rule should only be applied once per word. Does that seem right? Yeah, that seems right, right?
I like the theory.
Yeah. Okay. This gets interesting now. Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking of a scenario where each rule can get registered and then we keep track of whether it's applied.
Yeah, because you could get into like stinging Lee.
Stingingly, yeah. Right. Okay. Okay, so each rule is made up of a from and a to. So we could store that in a hash. No, we can't, because, well, every from has just one to, right? Or rather, you couldn't have two different froms that are the same and have different twos. That wouldn't make any sense. Okay.
You're actually gonna have to be sharing the state to that new word that you're creating on 15, because the becomes ing is going to run in this instance, and you have to kind of pass that forward to the one that you're creating on line 15.
Right.
That way
You
it
always have
knows.
to be keeping track of the original,
Yeah.
what you might call the root word.
Of which rules you have run, you'd have to pass that into the next
Right.
recursive call.
Yeah. Okay. This is not abundantly clear what the best way to structure this is, because I could imagine one way where we like just have the word and we pass, like we keep track of the root word and we pass around the root word and we say like word dot applied rules or something like that. But we actually don't care about the word. We only care about the rules that have been applied. And we might call it a rule history or something like that. For some reason, I feel like I do want to pass the root word. I don't know why, but that's like an overloaded thing. Like root word has two meanings. Then I don't like that. Okay, so we'll call it rule set. Okay.
What if we don't do this with recursion? What if we have the when you create the word itself, you have a list of available rules, which will be all of your becomes, all of the becomes, and if you apply one of the rules to it, then you remove it from the list of rules.
Oh, interesting idea. Okay.
So this would go back to that original concept of having the original value and keep on reapplying until there's no change. But you have your list of rules and you just go until you have no rules or your word doesn't change anymore.
I like that. So we might say like convert this to a hash. That's exactly what I was going to do. Thanks for being so smart, ChatGPT. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take out stinging because I just want to refactor this without introducing any behavior changes. And now for whatever reason, this doesn't work, but we're getting a little past time. And this is actually a great place to end it. As Ernest Hemingway said, when it's going well, quit. And so I like to stop not at a good stopping point, but I like to stop right in the middle so that next time we pick it up, we have kind of a prompt that shows us what we were in the middle of. So I think I'm going to call it a night. Thanks, guys. I think this has been, I enjoyed this at least. I think this was kind of an interesting thing, and maybe I'll keep this going for a few sessions and we can build on this. Anyway, thanks as always for coming, and I will see you guys next time.
Sounds good. Good night.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks.